Good day, everyone. Medieval Finals Comparative Analysis between Anselm and Aquinas. Today, I'll be discussing two of the most influential medieval philosophers, Saint Anselm of Canterbury and Saint Thomas Aquinas. Their ideas have shaped Christian theology and philosophy for centuries. But they approach the question of God's existence in different ways. Let's explore their arguments and see how they compare. Anselm's argument, the ontological argument. Saint Anselm is known for his ontological argument, which seeks to provide God's existence through reason alone. First, God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. Second, a being that exists in both the mind and reality is greater than one that exists only in the mind. Third, if God exists only in the mind, then a greater being, one that exists in reality, can be conceived. But this contradicts, the fourth is, it contradicts the definition of God as the greatest conceivable being. And the fifth, therefore, God must exist in reality. Saint Anselm's argument is a priori based purely on reason, without relying on external evidence. He believed that faith leads to deeper understanding, a concept summarized in the phrase fides querens intellectum, or in English, faith seeking understanding. While Aquinas' argument, the five ways. St. Thomas Aquinas, influenced by Aristotle, took a different approach. Instead of relying in solely on logic, he looked at the world for evidence for God's existence. In his five ways, he presented five arguments based on observation. First, motion. Everything in motion is moved by something else. There must be a first mover, which is God. And second, causation. Every effect has a cause. As we tackle in our class, in every class with Sir Calano, he always telling us that this second part of five ways of Saint Thomas Aquinas, which is causation. Every effect has a cause. There must be a first cause, which is God. And the third, contingency. Everything in the world is contingent. It could either exist or not exist. But something must exist necessarily, without depending on anything else, like God. And the fourth one, so now we have motion, causation, contingency. And the fourth one is degree. There are varying degrees of goodness, beauty, and perfection. There must be a perfect source of these qualities, like God. And the fifth and the final cause is what we call teleology. Everything in nature moves toward a purpose, implying an intelligent designer, which is God. So this is the five ways that Aquinas, influenced by Aristotle. No? The first is motion, causation, and the third is contingency, fourth is degree, and the fifth is the final cause. Unlike Anselm, Aquinas' arguments are a posteriori. They rely on experience, observation, rather than pure reason. He believed that reason and faith complement each other, leading us to a fuller understanding of God. To summarize the differences of between their approaches, Anselm uses Anselm uses logical necessity, a priori reasoning, to argue for God's existence, while Aquinas uses empirical observation, a posteriori reasoning, to argue for God's existence. And Anselm, faith comes first, then understanding, fides querens intellectum, while Aquinas, reason and experience help lead to faith. Anselm's argument is more abstract and conceptual, while Aquinas' approach is grounded in the physical world and Aristotelian thought. Their impact and legacy, both Anselm and Aquinas, have have a have had a lasting impact on Christian thought. Anselm's ontological argument influenced later philosophers like Descartes and Kant, while Aquinas' integration of reason and faith laid the foundation for scholasticism. His Summa Theologica remains a cornerstone of Catholic theology. Even today, these arguments continue to be discussed. Should God's existence be proven through logical necessity, as Anselm suggests, or should we rely on evidence and experience as Aquinas proposes? Both perspectives offer valuable insights into the relationship between faith and reason. In conclusion, this discussion on Anselm and Aquinas, which argument do you find more convincing? Thank you for listening, sir. I have a lot of learnings from our class, and I think but katulad nga ng palagi niyo pong sinasabi sa amin, hindi namin malalaman ng isang bagay kung hindi namin ito tutuklasin. At kahit matuklasan na namin ito, may dapat pang tuklasin. At kung minsan nasabi na natin ng importante, katulad ng narinig ko sa huli nating klase, na naka-inspired din sa akin upang mas matuto pa ng filosofiya at mas lawakan pa ang pag-iisip pagdating sa filosofiya. Hindi lamang sa pananampalataya kundi sa pakikipagkapwa-tao at paano makipamuhay ang isang nag-aaral ng filosofiya sa nangyayari ngayon sa ating bansa, sa nangyayari dito sa seminaryo sa aming buhay. Nawa ang lahat ng ito ay magawa ko ng naaayon sa tulong ng Panginoon. At yun nga, katulad ng sinabi niyo po, nung nakaraang last lesson natin, maaring masabi na ang importante, pero ang mas pinaka-importante ay hindi natin masasabi. Ngunit, yun nga, sa tulong at gabay po nitong klase, marami rin akong natutunan. Kung minsan, binabasa ko lamang talaga, hindi agad nagre-register sa utak ko, pero habang tumatagal, mas naiinganyo akong mag-aral. Mas naiinganyo akong palalimin pa itong mga natutunan ko. Sapagkat sa mga matatalinhagang salitang narinig ko sa inyo, mas pinagtibay nito ang aking pag-aaral. Mas pinagtibay nito na tuklasin ko ang mga dapat pang tuklasin at aralin ang mga dapat aralin. Sapagkat hindi natatapos ang pag-aaral, hindi natatapos ang pagtuklas ng mga bagay at mga makabuluhang bagay, makabuluhang ideya, makabuluhang experience na siyang makakatulong sa aming formation. Hanggang kami sa maging ganap na pari. Muli, maraming salamat sa pakikinig at sa mga makakanood nitong video. Ito'y para sa aming finals sa medieval philosophy na kung saan ay marami at napakarami kaming natutunan. Pero dapat pa natin Pero ako bilang nakapag-aral sa medieval philosophy, marami pa akong part na dapat aralin at mas palawakin yung mga naituro sa amin. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat.